So I've decided I'm going to do the enemy movement pretty much exactly the same as the player movement is done. I'm just going to calculate a move direction instead of getting inputs, and then work out the velocity from there, and then apply the velocity to the rigid body. So we need to set all the enemy script up pretty much the same as a player script. So we're going to require a rigid body component. We're going to require a reference to the rigid body. Before I go too far, let's grab all that, store a reference, and set all the constraints in the start. And then we also need a fixed update. Alright, no, hang on before I keep going. Let's get the speed and the desired velocity. Okay, and then we'll get the fixed update with the rigid body velocity equals the desired velocity. And we're almost there. Now, we just need this calculate desired velocity. Okay, we just need to calculate horizontal and vertical. Now this is the fun part. So var I think I'm going to make these global variables because I'm not going to be changing them every update based on an input. I'm going to be hard setting them, and then if the rigid body is not moving, then we're going to reset them. So this I'll make them global. Horizontal type floats, and let's initialize it. Assign it value of 0, and the same for vertical movement. So those variables are in. So if we go back to the scene, I don't have a rigid body component on the enemy. Component physics rigid body. It's just, I like my script at the end, but oh well. So if I hit play, nothing should change or break there. But because the horizontal and the vertical movement aren't being assigned, nothing's happening there. So we can even play around with that. Let's set it to -1. And their speed is too fast too. So the enemy speed, we need to drop that down to, oops, that's material. Speed 3. Let's set that on all the scripts as well. Speed is 3. And on the player script, so I don't do that again. Or if I go into a new build, build a new project using these scripts, I mean. Okay, so I just need to work out how I'm going to do this whole thing with getting the enemy to calculate its own horizontal and vertical speed. Now I'm going to implement a timer. So it makes decisions after a certain amount of time. Because I'm going to adjust the velocity, and I'm going to get it to check its velocity magnitude. Alright, that's not making sense. I can see it in my head, so I'll just type it out. So var timer type float equals 0 to start it out, and the timer max is going to be 0.5. Just give it time to start moving again and get the velocity magnitude up and out of the range of my check. So let's increment the timer, of course. Time, delta time. Now, yep, okay. If the timer is greater than the maximum time. I'm going to check the velocity. Is the velocity low? I stopped moving. If so, calculate a new move direction. Okay, so that's the thinking. Check the velocity, and of course if the timer's reached a timer max, we'll also reset the timer. So check the velocity. Velocity magnitude type float equals my rigid body dot velocity dot magnitude. Yeah, square magnitude. So a little bit more efficient. Probably doesn't matter in this case so much, but if we had more than a few enemies, I'm going to start using the processor up too much. So let's just say variable min velocity. Min velocity magnitude type float equals 0.08. That should be nice and low to check if it stopped moving. So if the velocity square magnitude, velocity square magnitude is less than the minimum times the minimum to create the square, switch, and let's pick a random direction. Now with integers, 0, 1, and 2, and 3, that's 4. So case 0, break, let's create 3 more cases, and then we'll fill it out. 1, 2, 3. So case 0 is going to be left. So horizontal is going to equal -1 for the left. And we better zero out the vertical just to make sure we don't get some wonky things happening. And so let's just say left, right, up, and down. So left is -1, right is +1 on the horizontal. So up and down, the horizontal is going to be 0. So up vertical is 1, and down vertical is -1. So that should pick a new direction. All we need to do is check if that 0.08 is low enough or high enough to choose a new direction. So that should be everything in place. These guys should start walking around on their own. Okay. Give him a second. Wow, for a guest number, that seems to have turned out quite well. Except when they try and pick her a left or a right. This could be vastly improved with some raycasting, I feel. But, hey, it's doing its job.